Joe Marcotte was born, it says here, born, raised, and educated in New York City. He started his career in IT in 1966, long before it was called IT, and stayed in that profession all his life, up to now anyway. Joe moved to Arizona in 1983 and continued working until retiring 5 years ago. He and his wife, Jen, Joe wrote this. He and his wife, Jen, have a parcel of children and grandchildren in Arizona, Texas, and Colorado. His lovely stepdaughter, Savannah, is here with us today. Joe's passions are running, reading, and writing, all of which he does enthusiastically. I edited that. I know Joe best from the memoir group, where he charms us at every meeting with insightful, beautifully crafted compositions. We welcome Joe to the podium this morning.
Good morning and welcome to September. Let me first wish you a happy mid-Labor Day weekend. Perhaps we would be remiss if we didn't pay respects to the first Labor Day celebrated in 1882. That was 130 years ago, commemorating the American worker. For those of you who are still working, it perhaps seems like you've been working for all those 130 years. From those of us who are collecting Social Security, we say thank you. Keep up the good work. It is for you this morning. I had an unspoken joy. This month's theme, the theme for the entire month of September, is renewal. Why renewal? In planning for the month, the worship committee was keenly aware that this would be our first month without the benefit of Pastor Farris as our minister. With that in mind, Pastor Farris, in his last sermon, spoke to the passing of the torch of ministry to us, to all of us. And from that, a need for our church to rededicate itself, to renew. Today, let's think about spiritual renewal, not ours, your own. There is also officially less than 3 weeks left to summer. Are you planning your fall vegetable garden? I'm not much in the way of a gardener, no green thumb up here, but I do remember the great success I had one year when I went all out planning. I'm not much of the, I only once had great success with the planting of tomatoes, and I think that I question myself on why I bring this up this morning. But I kind of think it was the planning and all that thinking that helped. Thinking is good. It may be the most important way that we can create a worthy harvest. So if you think about commingling your spiritual renewal and your spiritual garden, what would you be thinking about? What would you be working on? And to those of you out there who say, well, Joe, I'm not really thinking about either, I say it's okay to skip the garden, but your spiritual renewal might just be like all the library books I have at home. Overdue. Whether you are a future, current, or prior American worker, spiritual renewal requires work. The word work, especially on this weekend, does conjure up feelings of great physicality. Yet, interestingly, the word spiritual means not physical. Life and death, you are born not from a physical state. We pass away not to a physical state. Your life is physical. Your life's work simply physical? Of course not. Your spirituality, your beliefs, both casual and profound, direct your life's work. And what is your spirituality? Pop quiz time. Okay, let's say I'm coming down from the podium now, and we're going to have an audience participation moment. The question, how do you define spirituality? What would you say? We could define spirituality together, but only you can define your own. And far too often, we've lived with it for so long that we haven't taken a good look at it. At least not lately. Yet it is the governor, the director of how you live, yourself, and with others. It's quietly just there, dormant or active. It wants to talk with you. We live so closely, so intimately with certain things in our life, they blend into our fabric, indistinguishable from the threads of our own self. Spirituality is within you. What could be more personal? It can be the life force directing some of your most difficult actions, taken or untaken, especially with others. What is respect for the interdependent web of life mean to you? I guess that depends upon your spirituality. How often do you avert your eyes from your child's when they need help? I doubt ever. But then there's Mike from the mailroom, and you're just passing him in the hallway, not really making eye contact. You see, he's of a different station. There's your neighbor, Mr. Martinez. He's an uncomfortable fellow. Best, I think, at arm's length. He's poor, loud, unkempt. And my son-in-law, Frank. With all of these people, you just don't know the weight that life's put on their shoulders, or how small their shoulders are. So is the interdependent web of life about your voting record on immigration? The sparrow with the broken leg that you nursed so it could fly? But even as you find need to withdraw, seek harmony, peace, shelter from the day-to-day storms, can your spirituality also be the breath of life you could give to the wings of another soul, and in return grow your own? You see, spirituality has no purpose if it's just a world of you. And you might not have a purpose without it. Soul is a word of many definitions. It's also a word that some of us have redefined many times in our own life. For some, soul was like a big scoreboard, constantly tracking your overall readiness or worthiness to enter the kingdom of heaven. Others think of it like a plant, feeding and watering it with those things that can uplift their personal spirit. They find that as how they treat the world around them, the world around them treats them the same. Soul, you could also call it your essence. You can simply also, it indicates the level of caring you have about your fellow traveler. I want you to disavow all the rules of grammar that you've learned and consider something that may be helpful for you to engage your spiritual renewal. The word spirituality is now, today, a verb. However you think of it, however you used to personally define it, think of it as a verb. I think of our UU church as having somewhat of an activist mindset. Our positions on immigration, women's rights, equality, prison reform. We need to be a verb in all things, to be active in remedying the great social problems and injustices around us. But we also need to take a good look at our own lawn. What good does it profit a man if he solves the problem of immigration injustice and loses or doesn't advance his or those of others? Your respect for the interdependent web of life may not be enough. You need to be a verb. To not live your spirituality is to still live. But to live your spirituality is to live a holy life. Maybe that's what spirituality is about. Maybe it's that voice calling out to you to be holy. But you're in a bad marriage with it. You may not know it. You may not be talking or listening. You may not have the time. There's no counselor here, not in your private world. You can either turn it off, divorce, or renew your vows. But we need help. I've seen my son and daughter-in-law with their young children, my grandsons. Justin, you go stand in the corner. You think about that. You think about what you've done. And don't come out until, as their voices trail off, I always silently just fill in the words that follow. And don't come out until a bolt of lightning smites your young, fragile bottom, and an earth-shattering epiphany is upon you, and the voice of God booms from the heavens and says, "Don't play with your peas." Simple, isn't it? I bet you haven't had a corner timeout in a long time. In fact, if you're anywhere near my age, your parents probably didn't employ that child rearing philosophy. Some of us just ran for our lives as our father de-belted. I played with my peas only once. Today we don't get any good corner time. Maybe that's not good. Maybe we need to schedule time for our epiphanies. And God, how inseparable, or has God been in defining your spirituality? I never thought I'd be in a church where the most controversial personages is God. Well, good for us. So a priest, a rabbi, and a UU minister, Jack, go into a bar. Okay, let's change that. A priest, a rabbi, and a UU minister, Jack, arrive at the pearly gates of heaven. There is a podium and a microphone just like this, and they queue up behind it, each waiting their turn before God. The rabbi steps forward first, and the voice says, "Rabbi, I am God. Give me an accounting of your life." The rabbi presents herself and the good that she's done throughout her life. And God says, "Go forward." Next, the priest is summoned to the microphone. God again bellows, "Priest, I am God. Give me an accounting of your life." And humbly the priest presents himself. Finally, UU minister Jack. He steps forward and the booming voice says, "Minister, I am God. Give me an accounting." Sorry, who did you say you were? But the voice continues. Listen, Jack. Did the absence of God and dogma, did the absence of fear of eternal damnation provide you a safe harbor from accountability? Well, Minister Jack begins to speak, but he's cut off. Listen, Jack. I changed Joe's story here this morning. Made you and the other two on the bus not go into a bar because you didn't have one. You didn't set one. Your voting record was good, spotless. But did you live with others as the spirit of your better angels would have directed? Pretty heavy-handed. Let's talk about God for a moment. I'll call God Him. So whether He exists or not, and whether He could possibly have a gender, let me humanize Him just for a moment so I can wrap some words together so we can get Him in here, on the table, and then get Him off. Some of us may have grown up without believing in God. Many of us probably have been brought up with a belief in God. And some of us has changed our views. Some have not. But it does seem that God is at the least an interesting topic. If not, why do you talk about Him so much? There are black holes, parallel universes, alien life. And to the question of belief in any of those subjects, you might answer, yes, I believe. No, I don't. I don't know. And if we include God in that group with black holes, parallel universes, how does your belief in any one of those change how you live your life day to day? Perhaps God, at one time or another, provided some small amount of utilitarian value as how you lived with yourself and others. If God is an invention, has man invented Him for purpose? Maybe He's been that voice. Don't play with your peas. You don't need to believe in God, but you may need to find that voice. Whether God exists or not, small g or large G, does He exist in you? As a personal aside, for all the good believing in God has done, there's been some trauma for others. When I came into this world, I was born with sin on my soul. Do you know how long it takes a kid in therapy to reconcile the concept of original sin on his immortal soul when he's sitting there with his last name magic markered into his underpants? We watched Olympians this summer who trained endlessly to perfect their body in a physical sport. Hundreds, perhaps thousands of hours of training, watching themselves on tape, every twist and turn of each muscle, analyzed, reviewed, changes applied over and over and over again. What dedication to perfection. Forget what your friends, family, and your shrink says. You need to talk to yourself and answer. There are only answers when there are questions. There needs to be questions of you by yourself. You know that. You're a spiritual seeker. You want more. And you need to get a little uncomfortable. I'm shy. I withdraw to protect the thing you're talking about. My spirit, my soul. I believe in the community of man, the interconnected web of life, being a better person, but I'm getting up there in age. I'm tired. I'm scared. Those are the first words you should be saying when you begin your conversations. I learn by just living. Your spirituality, ungroomed, unchallenged, unpolished, will still govern how you live. Know thyself. Seek honesty. Find humility. Find forgiveness. Not just of yourself, that's easier. And not forgiveness towards others. Forgiveness of others. Forgive them because they may not know or cannot yet, or they have not learned. Regardless of their age. What they did was physical, inspired perhaps by their damaged soul, their damaged spirituality. We all can get damaged. Just a couple of closing thoughts. The absence of sin does not equate to spirituality. Using the 10 Commandments as a measuring stick is not about your life. You're already with the first 4 commandments just simply talking about the Sabbath and God. The other 6, lying, lust, stealing, murder. Most of us are too old, slow, and infirm to break any of those. Spirituality works through us in subtle ways. Life at the margins. We struggle with the issues of spirituality, the concepts surrounding eternity and God. Our struggle goes on because we want to understand purpose. Your journey will be a quest to find that. To find your own. Be holy. Seek to be holy. Don't leave it to somebody else. This is truly a shared ministry. Every week we say respect for the interdependent web of life. Your spirituality is woven into that. It can be a joy in progress if you make it a verb.
Please stand as you are willing and able and join in the singing of hymn number 84. Fall far and reach a smile, which is also, I think, relatively new to us. Would you play it, dear child? Thank you. us. Please read with me West Valley Mission Statement. This church provides a safe place to celebrate diversity, draw inspiration for our lives, foster social and environmental justice, and compassionately support each other in our spiritual virtues.
I noticed that.
We're all catching. Somebody can read music and sing. At the same time, yeah.
I'm nervous, nobody comes. What are you trying to let me in there? It'd be worse if